It is mind-blowing. I want you to see what Elon Musk is talking about, the ChatGPT. So many people have been using it. It's the artificial intelligence, the new in the town right now. People are using it everywhere. China, Ukraine, Malaysia, Kenya, Uganda, Tanzania, name it. And there's a new one that is called ChatGPT -4 or -4, whichever the case. Elon Musk is talking about it. After this break, check it out.
I try to convince people to slow down AI, to regulate AI. This was futile. I tried for years. It will cause damage or death. There will be an outcry.
You could start a war or something. Like it's like whatever drives the clicks, it will do.
It's too late.
I mean, humans have been the smartest creature on Earth for a long time, and that is going to change with what's typically called artificial general intelligence. So this is, say, an AI that is smarter than a human in every way. Could even simulate a human. This is something we should be concerned about. I think there should be government oversight of AI developments, especially super advanced AI. It's just, this is anything that is a potential danger to the public. We generally agree that this should have government oversight to ensure that the public safety is taken care of.
Are people more inclined to listen today? It seems like an issue that's brought up more often over the last few years than it was maybe 5-10 years ago. It seemed like science fiction.
Maybe they will. So far they haven't. I think people don't, like, normally the way that regulations work is very slow indeed. So usually there'll be some new technology. It will cause damage or death. There will be an outcry. There will be investigation. Years will pass. There will be some sort of insight committee. There will be rulemaking. Then there will be oversight, eventually regulations. This all takes many years. This is the normal course of things. If you look at, say, automotive regulations, how long did it take for seatbelts to be implemented, to be required? After many people died, regulators insisted on seatbelts. This time frame is not relevant to AI. You can't take 10 years from the point at which it's dangerous. It's too late.
Out of control countdown?
Out of control, yeah. People call it the singularity. And that's probably a good way to think about it. It's a singularity. It's hard to predict, like a black hole, what happens past the event horizon.
Right. So once it's implemented, it's very different, because it will be able to...
Once the genie's out of the bottle, what's going to happen?
And it will be able to improve itself.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, with respect to AI and robotics, I always approach these things with some trepidation, because I certainly do not want to play a hand in anything that could potentially be harmful to humanity. Now, humanoid robots, they're clearly happening. I mean, you look at like Boston Dynamics, their demonstrations are better every year. So there will be humanoid robots. I mean, the rate of advancement of AI is very rapid. Even if Tesla stopped doing AI, I think we're still on a track to develop artificial general intelligence, meaning intelligence smarter than the smartest human. I think generally people underestimate the capability of AI. They sort of think like it's a smart human, but it's really much. It's going to be much more than that. It'll be much smarter than the smartest human. Yeah. I mean, it'll be like, can a chimpanzee really understand humans? Not really. We just seem like strange aliens. They mostly just care about other chimpanzees, and this will be how it is, more or less, in a relative. In fact, if the difference is only that small, that would be amazing. Probably it's much greater. assuming a benign scenario with AI, we will just be too slow. To something, let's say a computer that has like an exaflop of, many exaflops of compute capability, a millisecond is an eternity, and to us it's nothing. So, I always think like human speech to a computer will sound like very slow tonal wheezing. It's kind of like whale sounds.
What are you most worried about going wrong?
Well, like I said, AI and robotics will bring out what might be termed the age of abundance. Other people have used this word, and that this is my prediction. Will be an age of abundance for everyone. I guess there's the dangers would be the artificial general intelligence or digital superintelligence decouples from a collective human will and goes in a direction that for some reason we don't like, of whatever direction it might go. What's the biggest threat to humanity's future or something? Well, AI is certainly one of the biggest risks. It could be the biggest risk.
People worry a lot about this today are those people I call college smartness. People like us, street smart, we never scared of that. We think it's a great fun and we want to change ourselves to embrace it.
I don't know, man. That's like famous last words. Let me tell you, AI is, you look at sort of the rate of advancement, just in general, the rate of advancement of computers is insane. Like a good example would be video games. If you go back 40 years ago, 50 years ago maybe, you had Pong. That was just two rectangles and a square. Now you've got photorealistic real-time simulations with millions of people playing simultaneously. If you assume any rate of improvement at all, these games will be indistinguishable from reality. You will not be able to tell the difference. Either that or civilization will end. Those are the two options. I made this comment some years ago, but it feels like we are the biological bootloader for AI, effectively. We are building it. And then we're building progressively greater intelligence. And the percentage of intelligence that is not human is increasing. And eventually, we will represent a very small percentage of intelligence. But the AI is informed, strangely, by the human limbic system. It is, in large part, our id writ large.
How so?
Well, you mentioned all those things, the sort of primal drives.
Mm-hmm.
There's all the things that we like and hate and fear. They're all there on the internet. They're a projection of our limbic system.
Digital superintelligence would also be potentially a public safety risk, and so I think it's very important for regulators to keep an eye on that.
Who should own the data by then?
I think everyone should own their own data. Like individuals should own their data. And it certainly shouldn't be tricked by some terms and conditions of a website and suddenly you don't own your data. That's crazy. But I think it's just, like we wouldn't let people develop a nuclear bomb in the backyard just for the hell of it, That seems crazy. So digital superintelligence, I think, has the potential to be more dangerous than a nuclear bomb. So yeah, we should somebody should be keeping an eye. We can't have the inmates running the asylum here.
Well, computers actually are already much smarter than people on so many dimensions. We just keep moving the goalposts. So we used to think, like, for example, being good at chess was an example of a smart human. And then Kasparov was crushed by Deep Blue in '97. That was a long time ago. 22 years. Right now your cell phone could crush the world champion at chess. Literally. Go used to be thought of as something that humans were better at than computers. Then Lee Sedol was beaten 4-1 by AlphaZero. Then a new version of AlphaZero, AlphaGo. AlphaGo beat Lee Sedol 4-1. Then there's AlphaZero. AlphaZero crushed AlphaGo 100 to 0. Now it's just pointless because it just keeps playing itself. Humans are trying to play a computer Go is like trying to fight Zeus. It's not going to work. Hopeless. We're hopelessly inadequate.
We're effectively a cyborg right now, where your phone or computer is an extension of yourself, but your input is bounded by the screen, and your output is bounded by your thumbs or fingers. So effectively, over time, we would drift away from machine intelligence. Have a high bandwidth neural interface, then we can solve the I/O problem and go along for the ride symbiotically. Just as our cortex and our limbic system are quite happy together, and I've not met anyone who wants to delete their cortex or the limbic system.
Well, I mean, you could argue that any group of people, like a company, is essentially a cybernetic collective of people and machines. That's what a company is. And then there's different levels of complexity in the way these companies are formed. And then there's this sort of like a collective AI in the Google search, where we're all sort of plugged in as like nodes on the network, like leaves on a big tree. And we're all feeding this network without questions and answers. We're all collectively programming the AI, and and Google plus all the humans that connect to it are one giant cybernetic collective. This is also true of Facebook and Twitter and Instagram and all these social networks. They're giant cybernetic collectives.
Humans and electronics all interfacing, and constantly connected.
Yes. Constantly.
At Google, where people, at least one engineer, thought that what was happening in terms of their AI machinery was closer to human thought than had been seen before, and quite worrying. It had a personality. Is that something that you think about at all, or you worry about?
I think we should be concerned about AI, and I said for a long time that I think there ought to be an AI regulatory agency that oversees artificial intelligence for the public good. And I think just as there's anything where there is a risk to the public, whether that's the Food and Drug Administration or Federal Aviation Administration, Federal Communications Commission, where there is a public risk or public good at stake, it's good to have sort of a government referee and a regulatory body, and I think we should have that for AI, and we don't currently. Okay, well, let me tell you, my view on AI is essentially you can view the advancement of AI as solving things with increasing degrees of freedom. So the thing with the most degrees of freedom is reality. But AI has steadily advanced, solving things that have more and more degrees of freedom. So obviously, something like checkers was very easy to solve. That we could solve with classical software, classical computing, not really all that challenging. And in fact, there is a complete solution for checkers, meaning it is literally impossible. Every version of checkers is known. And then there's chess, which also it had many more degrees of freedom than checkers, many orders of magnitude more than checkers, but still really, I would say, a low order of magnitude, a low degree of freedom game. Then there's Go, which had many orders of magnitude more degrees of freedom than chess. So it's really just stepping through orders of magnitude of degrees of freedom. This is the way to, I think, view the advancement of intelligence.
Yeah.
It's really going to get to the point where it just can completely simulate a person in every way possible, like many people simultaneously. In fact, I mean, obviously there's a strong argument we're in a simulation right now. It sort of reminds me of that joke of like, if life was a video game, what would be the review? It's like, well, the graphics are incredible. The plot is confusing. The respawn takes a long time. That's a video game. That's life. It's life with a video game.
How much do you see artificial intelligence coming into the workplace?
Well, first of all, I think on the artificial intelligence front, I have exposure to the very most cutting edge AI, and I think people should be really concerned about it. I keep sounding the alarm bell, but until people see like robots going down the street killing people, like they don't know how to react, because it seems so ethereal. I think we should be really concerned about AI, and I think we should. AI is a rare case where I think we need to be proactive in regulation instead of reactive, because I think by the time we are reactive in AI regulation, it's too late. Normally the way regulations are set up is that a whole bunch of bad things happen. There's a public outcry. And then after many years, a regulatory agency is set up to regulate that industry. There's a bunch of opposition from companies who don't like being told what to do by regulators. And it takes forever. That in the past has been bad, but not something which represented a fundamental risk to the existence of civilization. AI is a fundamental risk to the existence of human civilization, in a way that car accidents, airplane crashes, faulty drugs, or bad food were not. They were harmful to a set of individuals within society, of course, but they were not harmful to society as a whole. AI is a fundamental existential risk for human civilization.
Yeah, I think machines will. Well, my views on AI, I've spoken a lot about this. AI will be able to do everything better than human over time, everything.
So, now the thing is that recessions are not necessarily a bad thing. The bullshit companies go bankrupt, and the ones that are doing useful products are prosperous.
What a great lesson! The economic world literally comes to a standstill when recession hits. During this time, many businesses collapse, investors get confused and are unable to figure out where to put their money. But now there's some good news. Elon Musk has just shared some of the tips that can help us make better financial decisions in a recession. Have a look.
Well, I think a recession is inevitable at some point. As to whether there is a recession in the near term, I think that is more likely than not. It certainly isn't. It's not a certainty, but it appears more likely than not. So the inflation question is interesting because we do get a fair bit of insight into where prices of things are going over time. Because when you're making millions of cars, you have to purchase commodities many months in advance of when they're needed. So you need to tell, because it's a very long supply chain with a tremendous amount of inertia. So we sort of have some insight into where prices are headed over time. And the interesting thing that we're seeing now is that most of our commodities, most of the things that go into a Tesla, not all, but I don't know, more than half, the prices are trending down in 6 months, 6 months from now. Now this could change, obviously, but the trend is down, which suggests that we are past peak inflation. Now making macroeconomic prognostications is recipe for disaster. But my guess is that we're past peak inflation, and that we will have a recession. I think it will be a relatively mild recession, sort of. But I'm just guessing here. This is total speculation. But I would guess it's a mild recession for, I don't know, 18 months or something like that. Would be my best guess right now.
As they say, history is the best teacher. While commenting about the 2022 economic recession, the Tesla billionaire made some references to the 2008 financial crisis that started in America. However, he has also revealed a certain event that could cause a very serious economic crisis. Want to find out more? Have a look.
We don't have fundamental capital misallocations in the U.S. as we have had in the past, like in leading up to 2008, where we were building primary housing units at twice the rate of household formation, which obviously doesn't make sense. And there were a lot of companies that were over-levered. The leverage or debt that companies have right now is relatively low. So, yeah, I would say probably mild, moderate recession, maybe 18 months-ish. And I think inflation is going to drop rapidly. That's my guess.
Yeah. Do you think we're headed into like a big recession?
I don't think we're headed into a big recession. I'd say like maybe a mild recession, but it could be a mild recession that lasts for a couple of years, something like that, But the thing that's hard to predict are like if there's like a war between China and Taiwan or something like that, that would send the world into a recession. That's a possibility. If there's some like big event, and there is a challenge in China right now with
that shit's scary. The Taiwan-China.
The Taiwan-China stuff is worrying.
That was scary.
There is, independent of that, there's kind of a looming bust in the property market in China, where they've overbuilt apartments and buildings in general. There's just too many primary housing units in China, which seems crazy because a lot of people in China, but that's a correction that's going to happen.
While most financial analysts are busy predicting about the future of the economy, most folks just want to know the current state of events, and Musk seems to be having an answer. Are you still wondering why some companies fail while others succeed in a recession? If so, check this out.
Where do you think the economy is headed right now? Do you think we're in a recession, or is it just a risk? How do you assess our current economic situation?
Well, predicting macroeconomics is always difficult, and one should assign probabilities to these things. But ironically, I did last year. People asked me what I think about the economy. I said, well, I think we might enter a recession in approximately spring of 2022.
Called it. Nailed it.
Now the thing is that recessions are not necessarily a bad thing. I've now been through a few of them, and what tends to happen is if you have a boom that goes on for too long, you get misallocation of capital. It starts raining money on fools, basically. It's like any dumb thing gets money, and I'm sure you've seen a few of those. So at some point it gets just out of control, and you just have a misallocation of human capital, where people are doing things that are silly and not useful to their fellow human beings. And then those companies, there needs to be sort of an economic enema, if you will, to have everyone sort of shift uncomfortably in their seats. Eventually the economic enema does its job, it clears out the pipes, if you will.
Yes.
And sort of the bullshit companies go bankrupt, and the ones that are doing useful products are prosperous. But there's certainly a lesson here that if one is making useful product and has a company that makes sense, make sure you're not running things too close to the edge from a capital standpoint, that you've got some capital reserves to last through irrational times.
Musk is not merely talking about investment during a recession. It is something he has done. By the way, he crossed the $300 billion mark at the height of the COVID-19 pandemic. In an interview, he shares some insights on how he helped save his PayPal startup from bankruptcy in March 2000.
In the past, when there's been a recession, it has gone. It's amazing. It's flipped like a light switch. I mean, David, do you remember this from the PayPal, ex-PayPal days, when we raised $100 million in March of 2000, and we had the demand was so high, we had people like VCs like just literally without even a term sheet wiring money into our account.
We'll send the term sheet later.
they literally would like sleuth out our bank account number and wire money in, and we're like, where'd this come from? And it's like, so it was like they were literally fire hosing money in March of 2000, and then in April 2000 the market went into free fall, and it went from raising money was trivial to even good companies could not raise money in a month. So it's just important to bear in mind that PayPal almost went bankrupt in 2000. We came close, but thankfully we'd raised that $100 million in March 2000, without which we would be in game over basically. And we kind of saw it coming. So it's like we got the X-Confinity merger done in like 3 weeks and raised $100 million because we were like, we see this coming to an end pretty soon. And then a month later, it was like, a nightmare basically. Anyway, so it's just important to make sure if you're a healthy company, you got some capital to get through things. And then what's your costs? And if it is a recession, which more likely than not it is a recession. I'm not saying it is, but it probably is. Then just watch your cash flow and get to positive cash flow as soon as you can. But I think we probably are in a recession, and that recession will get worse. But these things pass, and then there will be boom times again. So it'll probably be some tough going for, I don't know, a year, maybe 12 to 18 months is usually the amount of time that it takes for a correction to happen.
In the video, it is clear that Elon Musk's advice on investment during a recession can be of great help to businessmen, investors, governments, and everyone in general. Thanks to Elon, we now know how to invest during a recession. Anyways guys, if you want to see more interesting videos, click the video right above. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe with all notifications enabled so you don't miss out on the latest Elon Musk news.